See, the thing is about forgiving and maintaining self-respect, as you're asking it. You know, we know who we are, and we have a responsibility to go better than forgiving. We need to dive into the next better thing, which is forgetting. If someone's behavior has been eminently forgettable, let's make it forgettable. If my self-respect is somehow tied up in my making it okay that somebody behaved badly, then my self-respect must not be very strong. And it must be based, therefore, on something fairly superficial. Self-respect, what it is I do with my body because I think I'm my body. Big mistake. You're not your body. This body that we have is a flow of energy and information. It's made up of about 70 trillion cells. For those of you who are not familiar with government spending numbers, that's 70,000 billion cells. About 200 million, give or take, of these cells die every day, and they're replaced. And they're replaced by cells that are completely new and were not around at the time that you had the experience that you had. So I was in my body as I think myself to be. This is the mistake. I'm in my body and I have some kind of experience that I consider not to be respectful of me, my values, my ethic, and I'm in my body. That night, while sleeping and during the day, 200 million cells of that body die and are replaced by slightly higher number, 250 million or so, replace the 200 million that died overnight. What are these? Skin cells, fascia cells, muscle cells, bone cells. We're skipping a few layers knowingly, but just to make a point. There's not one cell in your body today that was here 8 years ago. And many of the external, more superficial cells have turned over and replaced themselves many times. This body that you think you are is not a frozen sculpture. It's a river of energy and intelligence that's constantly replacing itself. Heraclitus, a great Greek philosopher, said once that you cannot step into the same river twice because new water is always flowing through. You can't step into the same body twice. The self, the real self that you are having some struggle respecting, is that which is that lies beyond this body. It's our consciousness field. Whenever we think a thought, we're practicing biochemistry and cellular biology. Every thought that we think causes neurotransmitters. These are proteins and peptide substances. Neurotransmitters and proteins to be released that instruct the body to chemicalize itself and to make cells in a particular fashion. Our bodies literally are a report on our consciousness state. What is it that we think is me? When we think our body is me, then what happens is our consciousness gets very sad because this body appears to be constantly changing, and my own notion of inner self, therefore, is constantly changing. If what I am is this thing in front of the mirror that's changing every day, I have no permanent sense of self anyway. It's very hard for me to have respect for that which is ever dying. Ever changing means ever dying, right? So Our body is a conception. Our consciousness conceives the body. Our consciousness constructs the body. Our consciousness governs the body. Our consciousness prints itself out as this body that we find ourselves in. Our body is a printout. Today's thinking is tomorrow's body. Yesterday's thinking is today's body. Today's thinking is tomorrow's body. So what are you constructing? From what sense of self are you hoping to get this respect, self-respect? Particularly when we give ourselves the labor of having, quotes unquotes, by your quote, to forgive. Forgiving requires remembering. I have to remember something that was inappropriate behavior in order to forgive it. Why not go an extra step? Forget it. Forgive and forget. Of those two, forgetting is far more valuable. What would we forget? Forget the stuff in the rearview mirror. Go forward. We keep our attention on progress. We have within our awareness what we wish to become, and the awareness that we're not able to be described or defined by these gross physical bodies. The body is simply a printout of whatever our consciousness had been. And if we continually remember the wrongs that were done against us, and we remember them especially by having to remember and then forgive, and having to remember and then forgive, this is all unnecessary labor. When we practice Vedic meditation, we become very good at forgetting. Sitting in the practice of Vedic meditation, the mind settles down to quieter and quieter levels of the thinking process, and then a remarkable thing happens. You forget where you are. For a moment, and it's a blissful state, you forget where you left your body, sitting in a chair somewhere. You can't remember if it's the chair of the living room or the chair of the bedroom, or if you're sitting at the head of the bed or sitting in a meeting with other people meditating around you. The mind easily lets go of and forgets all of these superficial considerations the moment the mind begins to make contact with those deeper, subtler, more blissful states. When we get to the subtlest layer of thinking and transcend that, we step beyond it. We experience supreme inner contentedness. What this does is it causes the conceive, construct, governing process to produce the body of bliss. And the body of bliss is something you could be creating every day. If instead of that, you're wasting time thinking about who you have to forgive and for what, and then maintaining, quotes unquote, self-respect, but the real self is not this body or any of the things you think it is, the history of where your body's been in your lifetime. That's not the self. The real self is that deep, inner, one, indivisible, whole consciousness field, the unified field of consciousness. That's your real self. In order to have self-respect, we have to know what the self is. Self-respect can only come from self-realization. Self-realization can only come from direct experience of the unbounded, unified field consciousness when we step beyond the finest states of thinking. So, forget about forgiving and forget about small self. Realize big self and make all behaviors of lesser consciousness states eminently forgettable. Jai Gurudev.